The rain had been falling for 3 straight days, and honestly, I hadn't left my tiny apartment in almost a week. My phone was silent. My work emails were a growing mountain I had no intention of climbing, and my friends' messages were just notifications I'd swipe away. I was just going through the motions of a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. I'd wake up, stare at the ceiling, skip breakfast, scroll through absolutely nothing on my phone, and then try to sleep again. At 28, I'd lost my job, my partner, and any real belief that something good could still happen. The city outside my window just kept moving, humming with life, but I felt like I had already stopped. It was on one of those bleak, gray mornings that I stumbled into the old bookshop 2 blocks away. It wasn't planned. I just needed air. Any kind of air that wasn't the stale atmosphere of my apartment. My hair was a complete mess. My hoodie damp from the drizzle. The little bell above the door jingled softly as I stepped inside, and the smell of old paper and dust wrapped around me like a forgotten memory. And that's when I saw her. She was perched on a ladder near the back wall, her long dark hair tied up loosely, a pencil tucked between her fingers as she wrote something on a clipboard. She wore a simple, cream-colored sweater tucked into high-waisted jeans, and she looked like she'd just stepped out of a quiet, beautiful painting. She glanced down and caught me staring. "Looking for something?" she asked. Her voice was calm, but warm. I just murmured, "I'm not sure. Maybe just looking." She gave a faint smile and climbed down the ladder with a practiced ease. "Sometimes," she said, "the right book finds you when you're not looking for it at all." Her name was Elena. She told me she'd been running the shop for the past 2 years after inheriting it from her aunt. She had this incredible way of making silence feel comfortable, like she didn't feel the need to fill every empty space with noise. She walked over to a shelf and pulled out a worn copy of Asterisk, The Alchemist Asterisk. She handed it to me. "This one's about finding yourself," she said. "People come in here for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it's just for a story. Sometimes it's for something more." I took the book from her, and my fingers brushed against hers for a brief second. I thought I saw something flicker in her dark eyes, but she didn't say anything. I ended up staying in the shop for an hour, just flipping through pages I couldn't really focus on. But somehow, I felt lighter than I had in a very long time. That visit became my new routine. Every afternoon, I'd find myself wandering back into Elena's shop, pretending to browse the shelves, but really, I was just drawn to her quiet, calming presence. We'd exchange small talk at first, the weather, new books, the best coffee nearby, but then she started asking me questions that nobody had asked me in months. "How are you holding up? What's something you used to love doing? When was the last time you did something just for yourself?" Her voice never held any pity, only this gentle, genuine curiosity. So I told her about my old job in marketing, about how my ex had left when things got hard, and about how I stopped painting. "The one thing that used to make me feel completely and utterly alive. You should paint again," she said one evening, as she was brewing tea for us in the little back room of the shop. "Sometimes creating something is the only way to remind yourself that you're still here." I just laughed, a bitter kind of laugh. "It's been years. I wouldn't even know where to start." She just smiled softly and slid a small, blank sketchbook across the counter toward me. "Start with me," she said. "Draw this shop. Draw me if you want. There are no rules." I just stared at the sketchbook, and for the first time in what felt like forever, something inside me trembled with a feeling that wasn't sadness. Days turned into weeks. I started sketching the corners of her shop, the stained glass window that threw colors across the floor in the afternoon, the crooked shelves overflowing with stories, the simple mug she always used for her tea. And yes, sometimes I sketched her, the way her hair would fall loose when she forgot to tie it up, the soft concentration on her face as she read a book. The more I drew, the more color started to seep back into my own world. And the more time I spent with Elena, the more I realized my heart was slowly waking up to. One evening, the rain had finally stopped, and the air smelled fresh like new beginnings. I lingered after she'd flipped the sign to closed, helping her stack books. She handed me a cup of chamomile tea, and her fingers brushed mine again, but this time, neither of us looked away. "You're different now," she said quietly. "You're brighter." "That's because of you," I whispered, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. Her gaze softened, but she didn't step back. "I didn't change you," she said. "You did that all yourself. I just stood beside you while you did it." I set my mug down on the counter, my heart racing. "Maybe, but you were the reason I even tried." For a long moment, we just stood there, the shop dim and lit only by the warm glow of an old lamp on the counter. Then she slowly reached out and tucked a stray strand of my hair behind my ear. "You have no idea how much I've wanted to do that," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper. My breath caught in my throat. "Then don't stop," I said. Her lips met mine, gently at first, and then with more certainty, like we'd both been waiting for this moment without even knowing it. The kiss tasted like chamomile tea and rain, and the quiet possibility of something new and beautiful. When we finally pulled back, she was smiling. "Stay for a while?" she asked. I nodded, a real smile spreading across my face. "I think I'll stay for a long time." That night, as I helped her lock up the little bookshop, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Elena hadn't magically fixed my life. My problems didn't just disappear, but she had reminded me that my life was worth living, that I was worth saving, and in her quiet, unassuming way, she had become my second chance. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd like this video and subscribe for more. It means the world. See you next time.